Happy New Year. And we'll get things kicked off by calling the Tri-County Water Board meeting for Tuesday, January the 12th, 2026 to order. All in favor? Or actually, do I need a motion?
No, you don't.
Okay, thank you. And then we move on to the adoption of the agenda. That I do need a motion for. Who
I'll
But
put the motion forward.
Marilyn, I'm just
and-
trying to connect with
and
Robin.
second with Alan.
I don't know if Robin can hear anybody.
Terry, thanks. Thank you.
Are you good now?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. All right. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. And I guess I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ellen Branch. Welcome again for a follow-up from our last meeting. If you want to go ahead.
Thank you. Well, the purpose of today was to follow up on our discussion. We had a presentation, we had a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, a lot of really good questions. You had the materials. I sent a follow-up on Bill 60 and what that means a little bit. And you were going to go back to your councils and find out a little bit about what was, how the idea of a municipal services corporation would be received. There's no consensus, I think I can fairly say, from our first meeting. There was a lot of material to absorb in a couple of hours. And I guess in terms of best places to start, maybe, are there any questions that remain, or before we open it up to discussion? First, it would, like, questions or clarifications required would be helpful to know. I'm
not seeing anyone.
Robin has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Robin.
Well, mine was just a follow up through, but I thought I saw Mayor Hence's hand, and if he has a question, then probably defer to board members to go first.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I just wanted to pass on that our council meeting is tomorrow night. We haven't met since this group previously met, and we are going to advise council of the direction this board is taking. So we have not had an opportunity to discuss at the council level in Dutton Dunwich to this point.
And if I might, Madam Chair, I believe most municipalities haven't, since we did take a break. Then there's been the Christmas holiday, and most are just getting back into the regular cycle. If I might, Mary Ellen, I think maybe the purpose for the meeting was to reconvene this group to see if there are any other questions from the information provided, and then to see if there's willingness, not so much a commitment to, yes, definitely an MSC is the direction you'd like to take, but perhaps a commitment to us finding and seeking a project manager for you, who then can start to do maybe some further research to help support, is this the best decision for this board?
Yeah, because a big part of that will be the business case and preparing that. So.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions.
What about comments? Okay. Alan?
I think Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much. In the discussions I've had, I thought it was premature to perhaps bring it. Council are aware of these discussions.
but a resolution from council has not come yet. But I think the consensus I think that we do have is that this is not going to be a magic bullet to solve all our problems. I think it's very instrumental in the quality of people that are associated with it to really bring it to a successful conclusion. It's in theory, at present, it's a theory, and I really think that that project manager is going to have to be, or he or she will have to be extremely capable on pioneering this forward. I'm not backing down from supporting this. I believe that we have to go to a knowledge base board, and I think there's no question. I think to be sustainable and to be more viable, I think that this is the direction we have to take. But um, I've told members of the community it's no magic bullet. And then, of course, the question I always get, will our water rates be cheaper? And I unconditionally tell them, no, they won't be. And water prices are not going to go down. And that seems to be where the discussion ends. But I just feel a moral obligation to reiterate, the vibes I felt on the street, and that's it. But we certainly will approach this with enthusiasm, and look forward to other members' comments and inquiries.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Does anyone have anything to add? Go ahead, Ryan.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, I guess one of the questions I had maybe for Mary Ellen Bench is just with the structure of the board, if we move to the MSC format, what controls do we have over that board long term? So I understand that we're looking for a knowledge-based, Mayor Mayhew's point, board that's going to assist us in making the correct decisions that we need to make. It's going to help. I get that. But what control do we have over the board long term? How do we ensure that the altruistic nature of that board, in the sense that they're going to be supporting the municipalities, how do we ensure that that continues long term?
The shareholders will determine the makeup of the board. So you control it for that. And long term, you control it through the shareholder direction. We talked about that, where you set the guardrails within which the board has to operate. So that's where you get your strongest control. And it's not something you have to set it on day one and then it sits forever. It's something you can revise as you go along. Which municipality has what say when you set up those things will be determined by your share structure and your shareholder agreement. So it's kind of a cascading effect with all of the agreements and decisions that have to be put in place in terms of governance. So right now, Central Elgin does the administrative. The board, the new corporation would handle their own administrative reviews, or it could be something that they, in essence, purchase from a municipality. But in terms of more fundamental governance decisions, who puts in what assets, who puts in what other contributions, is going to make a difference to who's got the stronger say. We talked about having different classes of shares for each municipality so that the differences could be recognized, and smaller municipalities that maybe cannot afford to put much into it can still have that say.
Can I just a follow-up, if you don't mind?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. I appreciate that. I just want to be clear about this because it's come up in discussions with some of my constituents. So initially the board is elected. We set the board. We create the board based on what we
Yep.
deem necessary. Um, After that, we are relying on the board to continue the vision that we put forward in the structure of the corporation, and we're relying on that board to continue with that purpose in mind. So essentially, the individual municipalities would at that point have set boundaries, and then we're relying on those. I guess what I'm getting at here is that we would still maintain control as long as the boundaries were set in such a way that the future board would be obligated to follow certain parameters. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, yeah, you just like a private corporation, if your business is a grocery store, for example, and you want to get into the business of having a coffee shop, that is a decision that the board would make. But if you as shareholder didn't like that idea, you can replace the board or you can set other parameters that will either facilitate it or stop it. So you will have those levels of control. You set your direction at a higher level, ideally. You don't try and micromanage it. Uh, we talked about different options, and if if you are controlling everything that the corporation does, one, it will impact the quality of people who will put their name forward and agree to be on a board. But two, you're turning it into a management company. You're not allowing it to grow and expand the way that was intended.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think next in the queue is probably Tony, if you want to go ahead.
Great, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Maybe for Mayor Hentz, because he wasn't here at the last meeting. Mary Ellen, can you kind of just walk us through that, what we anticipate the role of the project manager to be? What are the expected timelines? And high level, what do you think are some of the next steps as we proceed forward with this?
Sure. So the role of the project manager is basically to facilitate the discussions in terms of more of a deep dive into what each municipal partner is trying to get out of this, how you see growth, how you see this moving forward. They would then put forward the business case. We talked about part of the business case being applications for funding, grants from other levels of government, maybe expanded territory as an option. So they will put together a business case based on what you tell them. They will do the public consultation, and public consultation will be likely in two different parts. One is attending before each council, maybe sitting down with each council in closed session to go through what it is that you hope to achieve. And then the other part is to hold a public meeting, whether it's a virtual meeting or whether it's a meeting that is part of a council meeting, to get input from the general public. So they would go through those processes. They would facilitate getting the kinds of agreements that you need in place, figuring out the board structure that you need in place, and how to document everything moving forward. So they would, as part of project management, they would basically assume responsibility for moving this discussion forward, from a concept into a potential reality, getting the council approval.
Okay. If I could just follow up, what kind of timelines are you thinking this will take? And also, given that this year there's going to be an election, how is that going to impact the the project and the timelines.
Yep.
Thank you.
Normally projects like this, they can happen very quickly, like 6 months. Normally it would be about 2 years to go from start to finish. It's complicated, especially when you have so many municipal partners that are involved in this. Because everyone is going to have their own ideas. And as you say, with the election coming in, there will be some issues in terms of new council members, new mayors potentially. Some might have strong mayor powers and others not. So there are some differences that are going to have to be recognized and accounted for in terms of how those things move forward. I don't see lame duck as being a very real problem, given that we're into January. The actual work that needs to be done will happen can happen over the summer months. You just need the delegated authority in May or June to move forward with what needs to be done. And then you bring everything to the new council.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything else, Tony?
I'm sure I will later, but yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Councillor Souza?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mary Ellen and the rest of the board. I'm not sure if this is a question. I did a little bit of research and I'm hearing a lot of positives in our last meeting. And I'm going through some of the negatives. And I'm just gonna read my notes here. Just MSC typically have lower credit ratings than municipalities, potentially leading to higher borrowing costs. So the full cost recovery model means all expenses must be covered by service users, which can result higher rates for our residents. That's a bit of a concern because our water rates are pretty high already. Like it's hard for me to swallow a little bit because everybody's struggling right now, and I can't see this being positive. And then there's initial setup and transition costs, which is going to a direct impact right away. And then we're going to have a board of directors. We're going to be hiring a manager. This is a lot to digest. Thank you.
Yep. We talked about a number of those things at the last meeting, and it is a lot. I think there was consensus that this is not something that Robin can do off the side of her desk anymore. This is too big, it's too time consuming. So some of those costs are going to happen if you stay the same or if you move into an MSC. That's just the reality of it. Higher water costs are a likelihood in the short term. It's a matter of, can they access funds that you can't? Yes, they will have higher borrowing costs. Municipalities tend to have very good credit ratings and very low borrowing costs as opposed to other companies. But when the debt is backed by municipal assets, that goes a long way in terms of satisfying some of those problems. And access to certain grants might be open to them in a way that it's not to you. So there are definitely, and the comment was made at the beginning that this is not a magic bullet. Definitely have to agree with that. But the choices are, do you stay where you are? Do you move forward? And if you move forward, do you move forward with bringing in staff who can manage this? Or do you move forward with a new model like an MSC that might open up some further opportunities for you?
Thank you.
Okay.
Robin's got her hand up too.
I think Ryan was next, and then Robin, and then Mike.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. And I was just, I guess, one of the concerns that I had, and I'm just going to echo Councillor Sousa's point there. In the last meeting that we had, if I don't remember a real conversation about some of the negative aspects of transition to an MSC. I don't remember that actually being a conversation. I remember us, bringing some of those negative aspects forward and discussing the risks. But I don't recall that we actually fully discussed them. I think the biggest one for me is that any members of the board no well, I mean, they still have a responsibility to the municipality that they work for, but ultimately they are bound to the corporation in the sense that the decisions that they make are that have to be in the best interest of the corporation. So I I
Mhm.
I would feel a little bit more. Sorry, Marilyn, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, right now you're a local board of the municipalities, and your interests are the best interests of the municipalities as well, best interests of the corporation as well. I mean, some of that won't change, but we did talk about it. I mean, we could go through the PowerPoint again, but in the materials, there's one page that's got like on one side the pros, on the other side the cons, and the lists are almost equal.
Exactly. So they're almost equal. I just feel like, and I'll just be honest. I feel like I'm being someone's trying to convince me to do something, and when I feel that way, I don't like it. And
Yeah,
I feel like this is something that's being pushed forward. I feel like I'm hearing all of the pros, but we're not hearing the cons. And I feel like this conversation is such that it's being presented in a way where you know a con is being raised and this is a solution. A con is being raised and this is a solution.
yeah,
Again, that's my opinion. I don't speak for the board. I'm just explaining how I view it. But at this point, like I would like to see an actual discussion about the risks involved here and what that's going to mean for municipalities that are on the board.
yeah.
Um,
And I think there it's really important to remember this is a very high level conversation to open up the door to that discussion. So the question before you is not, do we proceed with an MSC? The question before you is, do you bring in a project manager who can facilitate those discussions, do the deep dive into what the pros and cons are of your current structure as well, and then be able to give you the detailed, granular pros and cons of what an MSC can do to resolve some of those issues, and where they can't. Um, my old boss Hazel McCallion was famous for saying, "Do your homework," and that's exactly what the next step is. It's the stage where you do your homework.
thank you.
Okay. I believe the floor is yours now, Robin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And mine really is to follow up and echo some of the comments that Mary Ellen has made. We were charged by the board to start to explore the concept of MSC. Some of the concerns that we had heard from the board is the limitation of creditability, because for any expanded growth would then fall to the local municipalities, meaning that they would then have to either pick up the debt or they would have to outrightly pay for any capital costs that needed for growth or even minimal expansion and repair of the current system. So we're in the present state of which we have very low usership, meaning we have small municipalities, and of which the cost of maintaining this system rests on those users. And so this board, from my understanding, was starting to investigate the concept around growth and how do you expand the system. But in order to expand, we need access to capital. And that capital will fall onto each local municipality if it cannot be covered by the ratepayers themselves. So the MSC was one opportunity to look at a different structure that then would have access to potential capital outside of the municipality. And that was the intention of saying, shall we explore this model so that we have to look to see, would we have the opportunity to expand our access to capital. As it's already brought up by this board, this is not the magic bullet, but it is a governance structure that there has been expressed interest in at least exploring. It was mentioned to this board that the challenges right now with our structure is, as an administrator and myself or Manda, now Tony has joined us, this is a side of the desk job. But we really are in a position where we do need to have someone who can focus on and really do a deep dive to provide this board the information that they need so that you can make your well-informed decisions. Prior to our last meeting, this board was provided with reports, both Mary Ellen's reports, which provided both pros and cons of the system, MFOA report, which also, I think, heavily talked about pros and cons to the MSC, and also the LAS report that talked about the direction of an MSC and also highlighted both those pros and cons. So the board has been given information. I guess it's whether individual board members choose to read that information to help inform your individual decisions. A project manager will help to flesh out and address some of the concerns of the individual municipalities and best provide to the board and in turn each individual municipality whether this is a structure that has some possibilities and potential to sort of reach some of the goals and address concerns that you have. Can there be increased costs? Yes, an MSC will provide us with some increased costs. We don't know what those costs will be right at this moment in time. However, within the current structure that you are operating, you are guaranteed to have increased costs because the cost of maintaining the system that you have and growth and expansion will fall directly on the ratepayer, and if not by the ratepayer, directly to your municipality. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mike, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And a question for Mary Ellen. Where is the province in this situation? Do we need approval? Will they be involved in any way? And my understanding is they are quite in favor of this type of corporation. Could you care to comment on that, please?
Sure. The province is not involved. About maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little longer, the province decided to get out of their role in municipal services corporations. They used to have an approval role, but they replaced it with a requirement to provide public content, public meeting, a requirement to do a business case before you can have an MSC. In the old days, you had to present your business case to the province and they would say yes or no. You are correct. They are very much in favor of this model. It's a way of consolidating, bringing things together. Bill 60 is an example of this model that is going to be put in place in Peel Region. It will be owned, the water wastewater will be owned by the three municipalities, Caledon, Brampton, and Mississauga, on a proportional basis to their size. So they've shown that. I sent a follow-up on Bill 60 because there is some room for that one to bring in private shareholders, similar to what the Electricity Act provided back in 1998. So it's a model that is definitely being pursued, and lots of municipalities are using it for a wide variety of different purposes.
Okay, thank you. And just a follow-up comment. From my perspective, we have to explore this. So I'm in favor of getting our questions answered and moving forward on this initiative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think Councillor Pemberton, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and through you. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I probably have a lot more questions than others, but I've done the reading, stuff like that, so I don't want to get into too much. I guess I agree. I think we need to explore the pros and cons a little bit deeper for our specific board because the pros and cons are kind of general pros and cons over the whole thing. So I don't disagree with the thought of hiring a project manager to dive into this a bit more to get us more information specifically related to our board because I think some of those pros and cons might not be the same. Maybe they would be, maybe they wouldn't be. I guess I'm not 100% sure on that. I guess my only question, and it'd probably be a high level guesstimate, is do we have an idea or do we have a cap or anything of what project management would cost?
If I might, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
The board in your 2026 budget discussions had put aside $80,000 in order to start the investigation around an MSC. There are many steps to this. One would be project management, one would be developing the business case that would help the board make a decision. And then further steps to that. We also then supporting on with Mary Ellen or any other sort of legal advice, because if you do go down the road of wanting to move towards an MSC, of course, then there's all the legalities of setting up the governance structure. But right now, the board has set aside 80,000 to start that investigation. Where it can end, I think it gets into the complexities and how long it will take for a project manager to sort of come to some sort of conclusion.
Okay, thanks, Robin. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I think Councillor Souza was next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Forgive me if this is a bad question. If we were to hire a project manager, who would be in charge of the hiring process, the interviewing process? Do we all get a vote on who we end up choosing to go with? Thank you.
If I might, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So thank you, board. We will provide the board with some names and recommendations, and then as much we do with any sort of board decision, that report will come through me to the board, and the board then can either approve a recommendation that I put before you, or the board can not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Denning and then Mayor Allen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, staff and Mary Ellen, for this presentation. Two questions. Number one, has there been any definitive communication from the province that an MSC would have a better chance of getting funding or granting versus the existing, for instance, Tri-County, which is multiple municipalities working together, which is what we know the province is looking to see? Is there anything that you've come across that puts us in a better position to achieve funding from the province with this type of organization?
No, there's nothing definitive. They have indicated that they like the MSC model. They like putting these services into the hands of and like this is meant with all due respect, into the hands of people with a little more professional subject matter expertise as opposed to members of council. Roma's coming up this weekend, so that might be an opportunity to ask some of those questions.
Okay, thank you for that. And if I may, with one follow-up, Madam Chair. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this consultant comes up with regards to what this could look like, and I'm just curious if there will be the opportunity in this report to look at all the different ways that we can move forward, not just with an MSC. For instance, would it be a consideration to continue with a structure that hires an individual to navigate Tri-County for us, and have a board similar to what it is, but also be able to ensure that we have the proper governance in place, that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, having the capacity to look after managing grants, applying for grants, and also working with our service partners like Aqua. Is that something that the consultant could also present to us so that we have options to consider, other than just status quo versus MSC?
I would expect any consultant would do that, but you set the terms of reference when you go out to the procurement, so you can have specific requirements in that regarding your terms of reference.
Thanks.
If I might, Madam Chair, if the board is wanting to see options to be provided to them, then as Mary Ellen just said, then we would set that up in terms of what are the deliverables you're expecting back to be received. And this next comment is not to scare you away from that, but remember that the broader the scope, the more investigation that needs to occur, the more cost that will be applied to that project.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Mayhew, I believe that you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and through you. Robin, this isn't an official tendered process then. We don't put out applications of interest for this, or is it just like a RFP, so to speak, that goes out? Is there anything that formal?
Well, we can go through the formal process. I can start with doing some inquiries and just looking at more of a invoice, like getting some costing for you. If we see the numbers that are coming in sort of in excess of probably the 50,000 mark, then of course, then I would come back to say then a formal RFP might be necessary to do. But at this moment in time, I would make a recommendation to the board to let me do a little bit of asking and inquiring around to see if I can have informal quotes, to see which would be the best way to manage. The more formal process is we could go to an RFP. That would probably attract more firms such as like KPMG or Waterhouse. And then you're really getting into possibly much more of the financial studies than the investigation of maybe community need.
Okay. Madam Chair, could I have one follow-up, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. The other speakers I have some other concerns when we reach out to garner some a director to put forth some solid information back to us and how, whether this can become a reality or not, and the benefits. But one, I think it has to be exceptionally objective, the analysis. We've mentioned pros and cons before. There's always one of those on both sides of the equation. There's going to be benefits to some, and there's going to be cons to the other. Secondly, we put such confidence in Aqua for management, and we deal with them on the technical basis. But Aqua are a very large company. They have a huge business department as well. And I'm wondering if we, out of respect to them and because of our close relationship to them, I would feel amiss not to ask for some input from Aqua on this as to what they think. If the water board did not think so, I would ask my own counsel to make that request, because I do think that I value that relationship. I know that their sphere of influence goes beyond the technical end, and I would wonder what Aqua could bring to the table in terms of objective information. And the last comment I'd like to make is in reference to what Bill said. I would be interested in even a hybrid model. What Bill alluded to hiring an administrator for this and possibly continue with municipal representation. But that could be something that could be entertained as well, and I would certainly be open to that. So, the last thing, ask Aqua, and focus on that a hybrid model, if possible, if that could be, if there's any evidence of that out in the marketplace, and yeah, I think that those are my concerns. And the first one, of course, an objective analysis. It has to be very, very objective. I don't want it. We're not looking for a salesman. We're looking for an individual that is trying to give us some good direction. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
If I might, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. To speak on the position of Aqua, though, I'm not speaking for them, so I'm going to be very clear. When I started with West Elgin and certainly administration for the Tri-County Water Board, Aqua has been a strong proponent of the MSC and has been strongly advocating for this movement. They have been providing this board with access to and information from a similar move with the Union Water System. And providing us with background information on sort of the structure of an MSC. And while I appreciate the service and work that Aqua does provide for the Tri-County, the setting up of governance is outside of their scope of work and may also have a conflict in that they provide the technical and this board then hires them. So it isn't within the service that they provide. And I say currently because I'm not too sure what further business case or what further business direction Aqua may take. But currently Aqua is not in the business of providing capital funds or organizational structure.
No, I
But
think you misread me.
yeah,
I know that.
okay,
Just asking for their opinion on the MSC.
yeah,
I
yeah,
fully realize that they do not
yeah,
have anything to do with a hand in it. I realize
okay.
totally.
Yeah,
No,
they
absolutely.
have been a very strong proponent and have been advocating for the board to consider and have been providing information, much as I said, the Union Water System had changed over from its local board to an MSC model. Robin Trepanier has been a great resource in providing us access to sort of information connection to the current CAO of that board, and then also the legal direction they took in order to create it.
Thank you. Did anyone else have anything to add? Robin, would it be appropriate for me? I think I've kind of tried to summarize what we're trying to get to today. And I think the question is this the governance structure worth exploring, or perhaps a hybrid model? And do we need to hire a project manager to facilitate the discussions and help us determine if an MSC is the route we need to go? So those are the questions we need to answer.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly the most important question I think needed from this board is seeking direction on whether to explore a project manager and then coming back to the board with some options for project management. Certainly what I'm hearing from the board is that a project manager should not just be exploring the MSC, but providing options to governance structures. So what are the various governance structures that this board could look at? And I think that's how and why we do a business case, and then also who would be that project manager to best support the board in achieving those answers.
Okay, so what do you need from us today?
So board, what I need from this board today is just an approval for a recommendation for the Tri-County Water System, the administrator to seek options or opportunities for a project manager, to return to the board with options for a project manager, and to set clear deliverables for the project manager to achieve for the Tri-County system.
Councillor Pemberton, go ahead.
I would make that motion.
I would second that.
Okay. Motion by Pemberton, second by Hens. All in favor? That is carried. Okay. Is there anything else that you need from us today, Robin?
It isn't. Thank you, board. I think this is just the beginning of a conversation for this board. This is just the beginning of an exploration to how to proceed forward. By no means are these the answers, but I thank the board for approving that sort of direction. I think from the questions I've heard from the various board members and the concerns that you have brought forward, I think this is an opportunity to start to explore them, to provide sort of solid answers and solid data so you can start to determine how to best move forward.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Does anyone else have anything to add? Go ahead.
Through you, the chair. One of my biggest concerns is that it's election year, and I know a lot of constituents are not going to be happy with this decision, and it's kind of wish we were able to push this off till after the election. I probably inappropriate for me to say this. It's just I'm very concerned. Like a lot of us probably won't be here by after next election. I feel like the next term should make a decision because they will be on the board for 3 years. Like they will be see the process through. That's all. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Can I make just one comment? I believe that this is an information gathering. It's an opportunity to gather information, and then we get to make an informed decision. Or if we're not that far down the road, then the information is there for the next board. That's my overall thought process in this, and maybe I'm wrong in that. Robin, if you could correct me if I'm wrong.
That's
Thank
fair.
you, Madam. Yeah, I thank you, Madam Chair, and really, I believe that really is the intent, is for information to be gathered to understand what do the individual municipalities need, to be able to provide to the board where we currently are, to understand the direction the board would like to, and what is the best direction to do that. We need to continue on with the business of both our municipalities and the business of boards and operations. I think to delay continues to delay process and progress. And there are a lot of challenges in operating small water boards. And the reality is that a water system costs money. And when you have a small user rate contributing to it, it becomes a very expensive system. And I believe this water board needs to start looking at opportunities of how do we deliver quality water and safe water to our community members and explore ways of which we can do it effectively, efficiently, and I think as cost effectively as possible.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask one more thing. Through this process, our constituents in our own municipalities will have an opportunity to um, give some feedback to their respective council members and council. Is that correct? Is that what I did hear through this?
Mary Ellen, that would be in the information gathering process. If the board thus decides it wants to sort of move forward with the concept of an MSC, the requirements are that a business case is developed, and in the development of that business case, public consultation does need to occur.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's quite a bit further down the road.
I believe at this point, you'll be starting with some information gathering. You'll be looking at the various options, coming back to the board to say, here are some of the viable options of which they think that you should look at exploring. And if an MSC is one of those, then we move to business case, and then we move to, as part of that, public consultation.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, was there anything else?
Madam Chair, I'm just going to ask because I can see people's hands going up and down. Councillor Statham, was there any other concerns that you had? I can see your hand go up and your hand go down. Did we lose? Oh,
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I was trying to decide if I wanted to say something or not. I think if we're talking about public consultation and pros and cons about this, and I agree with you, Madam CEO. If there was a certain option for people to read the information that was provided, that's great. I personally did read it. I think a lot of the members on the board read it as well. For the general public, since this is actually the first meeting that's going to be public, that's why I was asking those questions. So I was going to sort of dive into that a little bit, and that's why I was asking the questions about the pros and the cons. At this stage, I think when I look at Bill 60 was sort of set up to remove impediments to development, and we're talking about how an MSC is going to align with the province's objectives. I don't think that development is a concern in our municipality, and I don't think it's a concern in Dunwich. So I don't. I guess I don't see the alignment with the province when we're talking about an MSC, because the the province wants development in Peel region. We have 70% capacity that's still available here. So if we're talking about improving the infrastructure, that's one thing. But if we're talking about, increasing the amount of, people that we're able to service, that's something completely different. So does this align with Bill 60? Does this align with the province? I don't see how it does. But again, that's why my hand was going up and down. I was trying to decide if I wanted to say anything, but I'll leave it there. I don't have anything aside from that. So,
if I could, Madam Chair, well, we are not, Mary Ellen may be able to speak to this as well. Well, we are not in a position of needing access to funds because of rapid growth and the need for immediate development of infrastructure. I believe the challenge of this board is the cost of the existing system as itself. And how do we both maintain an aging system, and how do we look at growth, and how do we pay for that? And so the MSC, I believe, was brought forward, or the concept of, because there is potential then to access additional capital or additional debt that then doesn't fall to the municipality, it falls to the individual corporation itself. And then that was supposed to then provide some, as opposed to the ratepayer directly paying for the upgrades and the maintenance, that the issuance of debt could be to the corporation. And while debt may seem scary, it does help to level out the immediate need for capital. So, I mean, you take debt and then you pay for it over time, as opposed to the ratepayer seeing significant spikes in their rates in order to implement capital structures that are needed.
Would that debt not be more expensive through an MSC than it would be through uh, municipal debt options?
Pros and cons, but I think the board needs to consider, can any one individual municipality afford that debt? And right now, I think that is the concern, that collectively, are we able to afford the debt that is required for growth? And I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you, Councillor Statham, but that really is I think the impetus of this is that how are we going to proceed with payment going forward? And so it is an exploration of how do we expand capital or access to capital.
I just don't understand it because it's going to be more expensive to borrow through the MSC. And I can see everybody getting frustrated by these questions, but they're real
Yep.
questions. So if it's more expensive to borrow through an MSC, then why are we?
Because in order for us to have growth, not any one of our municipalities actually has the funding available to either issue debt independently or to be able to assume additional debt, knowing that they have other infrastructure needs within their municipality to account for. And so if you don't have access to capital, then directly falls to the ratepayer, meaning that we would have to see significant increases in rate hikes in order to raise those funds to maintain a system. And so while it may be more, it has the potential, and I will really phrase that, we don't know that it's going to cost more, but it could potentially cost more. But at this moment in time, the cost is that we individual municipalities may not be able to afford the system on our own.
And if it costs more, those costs will be passed down to the user.
If the user rate stays the same as it is, but some of the direction is what is our growth potential, and then expanding the number of users within the system, which then helps to divide the cost by larger users, which then makes it a lower rate per user. I mean, that's ultimately what you're wanting to see, right? Is to make sure that the individual rate per user is lower. And part of that is growth, but how do we get to growth?
If we're able to expand. And
If we're able to expand. Yeah, those are all the big questions.
big if. Okay. I don't want to derail the conversation. I apologize to the rest of the board. I'm sorry.
No problem. Just can I speak to that if the chair will allow?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think in terms of debt, I think there's something being missed here. And, we have some high numbers on some of the things that we have to do on infrastructure. And if we're not in a position to amortize those costs over a period of time, it will really play havoc with water rates. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Bad debt is credit card debt. Good debt is financed infrastructure debt. And by having the privilege of amortizing that over a period of time, it takes away the sticker shock. Yes, we pay interest on it, but we amortize that over a period of time so that the financial hit is not as big. And I think in terms of debt, I think it's not just a four-letter word. There is good debt. And I think that's what Tri-County would be looking for. The ability to amortize some of these huge costs that we are going to incur in the near future.
If I may add on to that, Mayor Mayhew, the ability to amortize debt, but then without the impact to one individual municipality, and even if the debt was able to be spread amongst all municipalities, it would still have a direct impact on your debt capacity, which as small municipalities, our debt capacity is already quite small.
Okay, thank you. Was there, Tony, were you wanting to say something? I think you're
Yeah, thank you,
muted.
Ms. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I can't agree enough about the issue of debt and bad debt, and I always look at those two things, and Dunwich is something that we're facing, obviously, with the debt and our debt capacity. And when the debt is issued, it's issued toward, as it was mentioned earlier today, it's investment in the future in our infrastructure. So I think some of these decisions that are being made today, I think there will be some benefit down the road that money is going to be going toward future expansion. And I think we had touched upon that, again, nothing is for sure, but there is potential for expansion and additional users. There are markets out there, and we did hear the demand of St. Thomas of what that system is going to require. So again, nothing is carved in stone, obviously, but I guess letting this take its you'll be able to make some informed decisions on whether to proceed. So I don't think there's going to be, other than the initial cost of the budget, but I think it's money well spent to go through this exercise, and then from that point you're able to say, okay, here's the pros and cons. There's going to be some things that you live with, and there's some things that are obviously beneficial for the future, and at that time those decisions can be made. So. Again, just echoing some of the comments made today.
Okay, thank you. All right. It was a very good discussion. Lots of really great points brought forward. Um, you have direction for going forward, Robin, and if there is nothing else, I believe that we are at the time for adjournment.
Yep, I'll move that.
Okay, Mayhew? Hence, second, all in favor? Excellent. Thank you very much. And I guess we'll see you in March.
You bet. Happy New Year, everyone. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
everybody.